Hi everybody, I'm Kay Spivey. It's been a little while since I've done kind of a haul and kind of a wrap-up video, so I wanted to go ahead and talk about some of the books that I've read this summer, kind of going back into spring. Some of these books I've talked about briefly in other videos, but I thought I'd just go ahead and mention them all now in kind of a big old haul. The first book I wanted to mention was The Longest Drop by L. Davidson. This is a poetry collection that I read a little while ago. I'll link the video where I talked about it a little bit more in depth, but it was just a really mature, really beautiful collection. I really enjoyed it. If you're struggling with kind of self-acceptance after other people have made that hard for you, this is a really good book. The next one I wanted to talk about was Jen Campbell's The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night. I've probably talked about this several times already because it was wonderful. Kind of ghost story-ish, a lot of the pieces. Definitely for mature readers, but wonderful short stories. Definitely recommend this one. I really enjoyed it. The back, I will read for you, is stories of family and magic, lost souls and superstitions, spirits and jam jars, mini apocalypses, animal hearts and sideshows. Mermaids are on display at the local aquarium. A girl runs a coffin hotel on a remote island. That was a really good, like, haunting story. That was one of my favorites. And a couple are rewriting the history of the world in the middle of the night. Really good short story collection if you're looking for some quick little but kind of haunting reads this summer. The next book I've done an entire video on, so I will be brief, but that is The Savior's Champion by Jenna Marassi. I've been collecting a lot of books by YouTubers lately, but some of that is I really like the people that I follow on YouTube, and some really great writers are among them, and they've written some wonderful books, and Jenna is one of them. She has a fantastic channel. Jen Campbell has an absolutely amazing booktube channel, and Jenna Marassi focuses on kind of writer advice, but The Savior's Champion is dark and violent and wonderful. I absolutely loved it. It was a fantastic read. My spoilery video about the foreshadowing in it I will link to, but I highly recommend this for anyone if when reading YA you're like, man, I wish this was like 200% more gritty and there was more swearing and more sex. Like, if that's your feeling reading YA, is that I wish I had this but more adult with more violence, this is what you need. This is a really great read. I cannot wait for the sequel to come out. The next one, and to be fair, I read this while I was on a trip, so maybe I need to give it another chance and reread it, was Night Sky with Exit Wounds by Ocean Vuong. I was really looking forward to this because I really enjoy listening to Ocean, but reading them myself kind of had, I don't know, a different effect. Some of them just didn't work for me. I had a lot of trouble finding his voice in a lot of them. A lot of them are kind of, come on, make it so you can see it. Kind of written as form poems where it's sort of all over the place. I have read formatted poems where I felt like that was the right choice. It's not something that I tend to like. I feel like poetry should be able to stand on the language used. I feel like that's the strength of poetry, which I've talked about before in my unpopular opinions video, but I feel like there are often times when the formatting doesn't benefit the poem, and I felt like that was the case here. I felt like a lot of the poems that were highly formatted, there was just no reason for that to me, so I was a little bit disappointed. When I read Sarah Kay's No Matter the Wreckage, I talked about how I was a little bit nervous that I wouldn't like the poems written down as much as I liked hearing her read them, but it turned out that the writing was just as good as listening to her speak, and I was so glad that I had this collection now so I would always have her poems with me, and that just wasn't the effect I got with Ocean's poems. I think I'd rather listen to him read them himself. He has a type of inflection that he does very well, and in the poems I'd already heard him speak. I could hear his voice, and I just kind of lost it in some of the other ones. So even though there was a lot of like really interesting poems and some really powerful ones, the metaphors didn't always work for me. I don't know, it just, this was not my favorite poetry collection this year, unfortunately. I was kind of bummed out about it, honestly. Okay, next. I'm currently reading this, so I'm super excited about it. Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Where has this been all my life? This started out so weird. The first little like prologue bit is so weird. I did not realize what I was getting myself into when I started this. Look at this gorgeous cover though. That's why I bought this, is because this cover is stunning, even though it has the sticker thing here. Beautiful, beautiful book. And such a weird start. If you were kind of like, the closest thing I can think of to compare this to, and it's not because they're like super close, but it's just the closest thing that comes to mind, would be Castle in the Air by Deanna Wynne Jones, the sequel to Howl's Moving Castle. This is the closest book that I've read to kind of what's going on in Strange the Dreamer, and if you have read this one and you enjoyed it, you're definitely going to enjoy this. But this is kind of like weird, very, very, very fantasy. It just keeps getting more exciting. I'm about halfway through. I am loving this. I can't wait, because I know now that there's a sequel coming out and I'm gonna have this done before it comes out, and I can't wait for it. Okay, now to books that I have not read yet. I still haven't read Aristotle and Dante, Discover the Secrets of the Universe, and I don't know why. When I bought it, I was so psyched to read it, and then I just kind of was reading other things. So I will get around to this one. I'm really looking forward to it. I've heard really great things about it. I've heard people say that this is what made them want to treat their characters more gently. A friend of mine said exactly that, that she'd been kind of on the like, you know, be mean to your characters when you're writing, and then she read this and it like changed her whole perspective, and just like wanting to be more kind to the characters she was writing about and to be more gentle with them. And I thought that's such a beautiful thing to think of. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'm going to get to it. I just haven't read it yet. And then I just recently picked up yet another YouTuber's book, Megan Tennant's Alethea. And I know this is supposed to be kind of a dystopian, kind of dark story. So I'm interested in it. I like Megan Tennant. I've been enjoying her videos. And I thought I'd go ahead and give this a try. I'm not super familiar with what's going to be going on. I'll read the back for you. Nearly 2 decades after the fall, the transcendent city of Iris is the only place rumored to have a cure to the disease that decimated the world. Beyond Iris are the remnants of the old world, crawling with the depraved, infected with Leth they no longer remember, the people or dreams they were once willing to fight for, and are left instead with familiar voices that whisper dark and unfamiliar words within their mind. Instinct is all that keeps the disease struggling to exist another day. It sounds really interesting. There was a time when this was exactly the genre I was looking for, and right now it isn't, I think, is why I'm not so sure, but it sounds like it's really good. I'm gonna give it a try. I'll let you know what I think afterwards. That's my haul. Oh no, I have one more. This one though, I just have the Kindle version, so it's not gonna be as beautiful. This one is called Small Fire. Ooh, my screen is dirty. This one is called Small Fires by Jose Angel Arjus, and I did talk about this in another video as well, but it was a really beautiful poetry collection. It dealt a lot with domestic violence and with child abuse, but the poems were really vivid and beautiful, and I'll link the video. I probably already linked the video because I think I talked about another one. That's the other one I wanted to talk about. I think I talked about in the same video that I talked about Never Let Me Go. This was a fantastic collection, by the way, but I'll go into that in a second. Okay, so Small Fires was a really beautiful collection. I'm really glad that I read it. Jose is a really great author, and I will go ahead and I'll link, he has a couple of videos that he's put up of him reading his poetry on YouTube, so I will link that as well, because that's so beautiful. This one I also read this summer. I completely forgot that I'd read this because this is the first one kind of in this group, and I've already talked about it on this channel, but this was stunning. I didn't know, it's better not to know what you're getting into with this one. This book poses a question at the very end, but by the time you get to that question, you're so sure of the answer to it that it almost comes as a shock to you. And that's the best way I can describe this. This book was, for what this book is, and if you've read it, you'll see where I'm going with this, but if you haven't, I'm not going to spoil it because it needs to not be spoiled. This is the type of book that just needs to not be spoiled. But it was extremely relatable. I've not read a book that was so relatable to me and to my experience, and I think that lends so well to the answer to the question. It was beautiful. This was a great book. I highly recommend this one. Okay, I swear, that's all the books that I have bought and read this kind of spring and summer so far. Oh yeah, did you notice I cut my hair again? I don't like this cut as much. I cut it myself again. I did this to myself. I was trying to touch up what I had before. It kind of went wonky. Had to fix it. This was the best fix we could get. It's not as good a haircut as before. I decided to fix it by dyeing it. This wasn't the color that was on the package, but it's the color that came out of my hair. And I like it. It just wasn't what I was going for, so. Yeah, if you were like, wow, she keeps changing her hair color. This wasn't meant to be. I really, really liked how my hair looked before. And it'll get back to that point at some point. But right now, this is what we got. New camera. Finally upgraded. Oh, let me get my old one so you can see how bad the camera I was on before was. Okay. It's probably not fair to say that this is bad. It's just old. It's just a really old Sony Handycam. When I first got it, this was a great camera. And that was in like 2011. So it's just old. It just can't do much. It doesn't remember things. Like every time you have to take the battery out to charge it, anytime the camera turns off anymore, that was kind of the point. All the settings would get wiped. So it kept forgetting that it had a memory card in it. It wouldn't save to the memory card unless you went through and like changed 3 things every single time you used it, every time you had to turn it on. The battery life is fine, but you had to charge it every now and then all the settings would wipe again. And the quality was sort of getting worse and worse, I was noticing. I'm really sorry about the last few videos. The quality just didn't really turn out. So finally upgraded. I got a Canon SX 730, and I'm really happy with it right now. We'll see when I'm editing this, but for right now I'm really excited with it. Yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to talk about today. I hope you've been having a good summer and not dying of the heat. It's been really hot here. Today we're having like a weird cool day, but that's more normal for the area that I'm in, so I'm happy for it. We're gonna go back up to ungodly heat pretty soon here, so I'm taking what I can get for right now. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in this video and what you thought of them. Don't give me any spoilers for the ones I haven't read. It's just a couple of them. Just hang tight. I'm almost done. And yeah, talk to you again soon. Bye!